Lewis Hart for The Ring magazine, delighted to be joined in a late Thursday night with Ben Shalom. Appreciate you taking time to speak to me. Ben, it's good to be seeing you here in Birmingham ahead of a big fight week of Ben Whittaker's sort of debut headline in a grudge match against Liam Cameron. Ben, how's things? How are you?
It's been a long week, so I'm glad to be here because it's huge. I mean, when we first made this fight, even the rematch, I never expected it to be this big. Obviously a lot of things have happened to contribute to that, but you know, just seeing the open workout today, seeing Mr. Whittaker in Birmingham headlining for the first time, getting mobbed by fans. I mean, sometimes we forget he's only 9 fights in, and this level of tension, this level of noise around his fights, and as I say, whatever way it's happened, it's happened. And we got a star in British boxing in an absolute grudge match on Sunday night, so I can't wait. Yeah,
I guess that Whittaker's debut headline, which was, you know, it was a plan for quite a while. Was this like the ideal time to do it? I know it's a big rematch, but you know, let's say after Liam Cameron, was the idea always to headline with Whittaker?
It was. We were going to headline before. The opportunity came up to fight in Saudi, and we decided that made sense at the time. But the plan was to go to Wolverhampton first, and the problem is the size of Ben now. He's outgrown it. I mean, this arena will be pretty much, as I said, we didn't even open the top tier at the start. We've had to open the top tier. It's going to be absolute mayhem on Sunday, and it's the beginning of a journey. Of course, it's a high pressure fight. Of course, it's a fight that we didn't expect to happen. But it's something very important in someone's career, and to have this sort of experience, this sort of attention, this sort of animosity, and everything going into it is going to bode so well for the rest of his career. And him with Andy now and everything in place, you know, I think, fingers crossed, I think I'm going to look back on the whole Liam Cameron scenario and think, what a good period early on in Ben's career, an important period to get things right, to work out what was wrong, to understand what was going wrong at certain points in his career, to understand that talent alone doesn't do it. And now, it's great to be here, but a massive card as well. You know, Sam Eggington, Lee Cutler's an unbelievable fight. Fraser Clark to return after what happened is the way he's turned around in this amount of time is crazy. Obviously great to have Tyler Denny back against Elvis Algora, who was unbelievable against in terms of what he brought with Simpson. Elliot Whale, his first fight on our show against Lucas Ballingall, which is a great fight as well. Mark Jeffers returns, who's a monster in that division, are about to really explode. So it's an unbelievable card. It's the card everyone's talking about. It's the fight that everyone's talking about, and it feels very big.
Just dissecting it there and looking at the gloves are off, actually. Whittaker said, you know, he wanted the rematch, you know, October 13th, you know, the day after. Did you feel that from Whittaker, that there was the only option for him was, look, I want to run this back with Liam Cameron and settle that score?
I heard, you know, people will always say, you have to take this fight, you have to do this. The boxing fans demanded it. He didn't have to take this fight. We certainly weren't saying to him, you have to take this fight. He wanted to take this fight. We internally know what happened that week. We understand what happened in the build-up to the fight. We understand that it wasn't completely right in many ways, but no excuses. The answers will all be there on Sunday night, and that's what this is all about. And I think good on him for wanting to take this fight on, and I can't wait for him to show the world what Ben Whittaker is on Sunday.
Absolutely. Look, we'll move on to what's been a main topic for probably the past couple of weeks. Roundgate is probably the best way to put it. Finally resolved today. I'll ask you, Ben, you know, this was something that was going on, you know, even before the Saudi card, which was Beterbiev Bivol, which is what Lee said on record. So if that happened almost 2 months ago, how does it take to the point where this still gets dragged on to fight week and only just gets resolved now?
We didn't think it was a massive issue that wouldn't get resolved. You know, when you're working with a team, things do happen, and you know they're acting like this never happens. Mistakes happen. Things have happened to us plenty of times from other parties, and you deal with it and you work it through. And so we never saw it as something that wouldn't be resolved. I think we felt like we'd agreed to what they wanted. We felt like it was done prior to this, and it wasn't. And I don't really want to go. I've spoken about it now. I don't really want to go too much back into what happened. But you know, they saw an opportunity. They had fun with it. They took it to the media. They blew it up. We thought it was dealt with, as I said. And we'd done everything that was asked for to deal with it. But as I say, they've seen an opportunity, and you know what you're dealing with now. And, you know, in those situations, you either take advantage of a situation or you work it out in a reasonable way. But listen, it was our mistake, so it was our mistake to solve. We knew it would get solved. The carry-on was what it was, but let's be honest, it's turned this fight into a talking point for the past 2 weeks, and this isn't how you want to promote every fight, don't get me wrong, but it's enormous now, and I'm glad it's dealt with.
But in that case, though, with Queensberry and Liam Cameron putting it to media, which was obviously when he first spoke about it on Talk Sport, you must understand from like an outside view and people that aren't sort of invested in Queensberry or boxers how ridiculous it may sound. You know, getting rounds wrong is, you know, it sounds crazy. You know, everyone will say you've never seen anything like it before. So you must understand that.
Listen, first, what we're talking about is an admin error on one piece of paper, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about. And yes, it's a mistake. But have I seen it done to me on weights? Have I seen it done to me on dates? People might say it's a Saturday when it's a Friday, or it's a this or it's a that. When you know what it is, you know, you usually can resolve it. But anyway, look, it was a mistake. We paid for it. They took it as far as they could. Mm-hmm. But now we have the fight, and that's what matters. And yeah, I think in the end, it's much ado about nothing.
Do you think it's a bad look on Whittaker? Because it might come across like he doesn't want to do 12 rounds. He's not confident in going 12 rounds.
To be honest, and this is I swear on this is a truth, complete truth. I've not had one conversation with Ben about this because it just wasn't his problem. Mm-hmm. It was our mistake. It wasn't something that he needed to get involved in. He was preparing for what we knew he was preparing for. And so we just took it upon ourselves that was an issue that we had to solve. It's not for us to go back to him. Mm-hmm. And so, to be honest, I don't think it's anything to do with him. I don't think he's thought about it once. I think he's completely focused in his training camp and putting on a huge performance. And yeah, I'm just excited to see what happens on Sunday.
I wanted to sort of bring up comments that Lee made on an interview of Box Nation, obviously manager of Liam Cameron and head of boxing at Queensberry. He said, though, in the initial conversations, you asked him not to tell George Warren or Queensberry. Like, why would you do that?
Look, first of all, he's his licensed manager. Remember, we've dealt with Liam Cameron. We've done both fights with Liam Cameron. Liam Cameron didn't have a promoter. We've paid him both times. We've dealt with him, never had an issue. I think what we've seen in the media from Queensberry is really why we wanted this to be dealt with very easily, because all the managers knew exactly what was going on. Obviously, Lee now works at Queensberry. Things have changed. When we did the first fight, we dealt with Lee. Queensberry weren't even involved, and so
that's when they didn't have Whittaker signed. They didn't have Cameron signed.
Yeah, so we went to Lee thinking it could be resolved as his licensed manager quickly. Obviously, we had to deal with Queensberry, and as I say, it's been dragged out. It's been murdered. It's been ripped apart. It's been taken to the media. It's been made into this absolute circus. But you remember it, and things come around, and as I say, it got dealt with, and we have a great fight to look forward to.
So there was no intention on your part to try and do this behind Queensberry back, is what you're saying? Because that's what it might come across if you say, don't tell George.
The intention was to deal with this professionally and quickly, and it just wasn't. Look, we tried. I don't really want to go over too much old ground because we've agreed a deal and we've signed a deal and everyone signed that it's confidential and this and that. So, you know, I don't really want to go too much into it, but ultimately it was an admin error that everyone knew was an admin error. It wasn't that unusual. I promise you, we see contracts a lot, right? Usually these things get dealt with pretty quickly between partners that have a good working relationship. Obviously, there isn't one there, and they tried to embarrass us as much as they could, and they enjoyed it. But you know, I look back now, and it's made for a massive fight.
Well, moving on from that, on a more positive note, we saw the confirmation of Eubank Jr.'s £50,000 that's gone to the undercard of their first fight. Obviously, a class gesture that sent, I think it was like £3,500 sent to everyone on the undercard. So yeah, a nice gesture to see from Chris.
I think Chris gets a lot of stick, but he's a fantastic guy. He's a great guy. He does a lot for people. He does a lot for that people don't see. And I think I saw a lot of people saying, why did he publicise it? I think he publicised it because he wanted to show it was the right thing to do. And he wanted to encourage perhaps that to happen in the future. And look, when Chris says he'll do something, he does it. And that is 100%. When he says he does something, he will do it. And he's a class act, and fair play to him, because it's a lot of money.
Yeah, how excited are you? I guess it's about sort of 10 days away now before Eubank, Ben.
Look, it's the two biggest British shows in the country. Sunday is huge, and next Saturday is huge. And yeah, next Eubank Ben in particular will be the biggest show of the year. But to be honest, I'm not going to be thinking about that till Monday. Right now, we've got a massive show in Birmingham.
Yeah, so just picking this back up, as we said, Eubank Jr versus Ben fastly approaching, and Eubank Sr done a number of interviews yesterday, and I wanted to make you aware of comments that he made in interviews seconds out. When asked about sort of wanting to be in his corner, he mentioned the egg situation, and he said, look, I will never be in your corner. Called him a disgrace, which you called his son a disgrace, which caused a lot of backlash online. I didn't know if you had any reaction to the comments, if you'd seen them, or what you thought of what Eubank Sr said.
First of all, I think personal things shouldn't be aired out in the media at all. Second of all, I think there's a lot of underlying stuff there. And third, I don't think I should comment on it. I think, if I'm honest, I'm not sure how well perhaps Senior is. Because what he's saying is out of character and isn't right, and I think people probably know that in the space, and so sticking a camera in front of him and trying to antagonise him about his son, about a fight that we know he's not, I don't think is going to end well. He's an absolute legend of the sport. I know he loves his son, and right now Chris is just focused on the fight next week, I think. But as I say, I think from the comments wise, I found it unfair, and I think, to be honest, the way Chris dealt with the whole situation with Conor and what happened in his career and the failed drugs test, I think he showed a lot of class throughout it all, if I'm completely honest. So I think Chris has behaved pretty well, and is really preparing for next week.
Yeah, well, in that interview seconds out, they brought up sort of yourself and Hearn making comments about why wouldn't Eubank Sr be in the corner or be supporting Eubank Jr. And he said, look, he doesn't want to be an accomplice to the circus or the stupidity.
To be fair, I've never pushed it. I think as a dad, of course, it would be nice for Junior to have his dad there, but not that it's going to make any difference to the fight. Not in his corner. I think Chris wants to be his own man, have his own team, have his own trainer, which he has in Jonathan Banks. He's had a fantastic camp, so it's going to make no difference to the fight. I think his relationship with his dad and vice versa is completely personal and isn't really one we should be discussing in a public forum. I just don't agree with it. We all have family shit. We all have issues at home. We all have people that we fall out with. Families are complicated things. They've been through a hell of a lot as a family, and I don't think we should be dining out on it for media, for clicks or interviews or anything like that. And I don't think people should be doing interviews about it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is it poor taste when you have like a family fall like this in the public? Because a lot of it isn't coming from Eubank Jr. It's coming from Eubank Sr.
Yeah, but as I say, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. I don't think he's that well.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say more than that because maybe, but I think we all know that a little bit. So why are we encouraging it? I didn't like it.
Does that provide a distraction for Eubank Jr.?
No,
Chris?
No. He's completely locked in. He's very good at doing it. If you think of the distractions that he's had in his career, you think of the things that he's had to come through, you think of the absolute, almost similar to what Ben's going to have to deal with on Sunday. You know, Chris has had it his whole career, people wanting to lose, wanting to mess up, going into big fights. He's single-minded. He's ready for next week. He's excited for next week. He's a showman. He's going to put on one of the biggest performances of his career. And then we'll move on. So right now, he's definitely not thinking about that.
Because I guess from an outside view, when you see it, look, Nigel and Conor are side by side. Nigel's in his corner. He's on the press conference. Eubank's almost doing it alone. So you don't think that like affects him in any, like a cold character like him would affect him in any way when he's just like he's on his own in the ring there when Conor's got whole sort of family support, which Chris doesn't have.
No, he's the one getting in the ring. He's the guy that doesn't. He is the one getting in the ring. It doesn't affect him. He's got a close family unit, but he doesn't need them there. He doesn't need them for show. Families aren't for show. Yeah. I certainly don't want my family in the media. I don't certainly talk about that in the media. Yes, he's the son of a famous dad, so it's going to come up. But at the end of the day, it's a guy's dad. Yeah. It's not really one for us to speculate on. I don't like. I'm uncomfortable with the conversation. I think it's nothing to do with the fight. Absolutely nothing to do with the fight. And Chris Jr. is extremely focused on next week. Yeah, that's fair enough. Final one for myself. News come out this week of a court case between yourself, boxer, and Amir Khan over a potential proposed fight after the Kell Brook fight. I saw Amir put an Instagram story. Yeah, we know what happened after the Kell Brook fight. Me and Amir are very good friends, family friends. Yeah. So we saw it, we'd forgot about it, and we text each other straight away saying, let's take that now. Yeah. We're good friends. Someone's fishing around trying to make something out of nothing. Yeah, fair enough. Ben, always a pleasure to speak to you. Really appreciate you taking time. Always know this what it's about. Sorry, mate. I know it's late. 9:45 now. I know it's late. It's getting late, but no, I do appreciate it nonetheless. And yeah, top man. Thank you, mate. Cheers.